Hello and welcome to what may be a quick review of the Blackvue DR750S 2 channel. Now, I bought this about 6 months ago and I've been meaning to do a proper review on it ever since. Well, and I have done one review, but I managed to lose the footage. I don't know how. So, overall, I've been enjoying it quite a lot. It is a particularly good camera, and it is quite expensive for what it does, but I'll go into that as I go along. Now, I have got straight off, it is the 750S, so it is the 60 FPS dashcam. Now this one records also with the rear view camera as well. If you can see with the rear view port, I've taken it out for the time being anyway, and I'll pop it back in a second. What I will also say is I've bought an extra lens to help, well, polarising lens just to help it out. I think that doesn't help much in the night time. I think the night vision mode, maybe messing around with it. I'll have to keep trying it out. And overall, I've been quite happy with it. I'll start off with the price. I spent £350 for the base kit. I went for the 16 gigabyte version, but all the differences is that it has a different SD card with it. So you can get the 128 gigabyte version. All it has is the 128 gigabyte SD card in it. So you probably will save money if you go from elsewhere. So yeah, I also spent £25 on the lens. I hopefully it has improved, but I've also got other means to try and improve the quality. So yeah, I've tried to write down a few pros and cons. I'll try and read them off. Now, straight off the bat, it's a 60 FPS version. It is quite good at that. I'd much prefer having the 60 FPS rather than 4K. 4K cameras, dashcams have started to come out recently, but I haven't got a 4K screen, so any sort of quality for me wouldn't be seen. It would also increase the amount of time that it would take to format the screen. Format the videos, because you would have 4 times as many pixels on the screen. So already in the case of a video that's about 20 minutes long with a 60 FPS camera, you're talking about an hour and a half of formatting just for a 20-minute video. So I dread to think what a 4K video would be. But yeah, hopefully with 60 FPS it is really nice. The other thing I've noticed, and I think this is why the Aoki, sorry, I'm in the middle of the picture, so the magpie's just flown across. With the case of the Aoki DR02, which is basically very much a budget camera but very good dash camera that does 1080p front and rear, is that it does updates, but you can also download these updates onto your phone, which then Wi-Fi straight onto the dash camera itself. You can also put it onto the SD card and it'll update that way, but I found that a little bit weird. I've previously managed to downgrade the camera from one version to another by having an older version of the SD card that I popped in, and it downgraded itself, but I haven't been able to do that again. It's a bit weird. So I thought it was doable, but I don't think it is. The other thing, one of the updates this is also the thing with the updates too, is it actually improves the camera. One of the updates, it was either 3 or 4, added the extreme mode, which increased the bit rate for the camera, which increased it up to 35 megabits per second, which is the same thing as this camcorder as well. So it improves the amount of, increases the amount of information available to the camera. So you would get more information for it as well. But as I said, that's one of the things you can get with the updates. It improves as you go along. Sorry, I'm parked up in Castleton, and there is a van parking up. Oh, he's going down there. Also, the case of the Blackvue, it's got a GPS and speedometer. GPS and speedometers are getting quite commonplace nowadays. There's no denying it. Whether or not you use it, it's hardly up to yourself. It is completely turn-offable by the app. And the next bit I thought was the app. I'd have seen going by the Welsh Drive's review of a similar design dashcam to the Blackvue, is that you can get apps on various ones of cheapness degrees, but cheap apps, but they don't offer anywhere near the same amount of control as the one I saw that I did a review on. This goes into a lot of detail, so much detail that it's very difficult to understand what every single change is. and when you do update the camera, it has to restart, which means restarting the Wi-Fi. So it takes a few minutes to get everything used to, everything set up to the way that you want. And because it doesn't have a screen itself, you have to either check the footage on the computer or use it through your phone. And obviously, your phone isn't going to be the same quality. I'm just going to turn my camera off because there's people walking up, and I don't want to look stupid. Right, back to the normal program. I don't know if the secondary schoolers are at university. Pulled up in the van, walked within 5 foot of my car, walked then 5 foot in front of my car, then walked beside my open window to 5 foot behind my car, and there the bugger back down the road. Go figure. It shows I've got better patience than those guys. So what was I talking about with the app? Yeah, but in the case of the app that Welsh Drive showed off, yeah, it wasn't that particularly well set up. It was just very basic and didn't really give you much options. So yeah, I'll give it that one. What did I put? Video overlaps or continues. Now, in the case of the Blackvue, now a couple that I've seen before, in the case of the automail B-Prans, sometimes the camera did lose a few seconds of footage between each shot, and that was mostly the camera itself. In the case of the Blackvue, it either seamlessly connects onto each other, or there's a few seconds of overlap between the two. Now, in the case of my videos, I do actually have a decent method of trying to get rid of these little problems when it comes to recording. So it's useful in the case of the editing that you can get away from things. Where's this guy going? I'm doing uni. So you can actually edit it out quite happily. It does take a bit of effort, but oh well. At least you guys aren't noticing. It's the main thing. And the case of the other thing it has is the Wi-Fi. Now, I've said with the app you can connect through to the Wi-Fi, so you can actually see the footage there and then. You don't have to take the SD card out, put it into a laptop or your computer, and it does it quite well. You can also use it to see what the camera's recording, so it's very useful when you're setting up the camera itself. So, in the case of the rear view camera, you can, I don't know, sit in the back seat and adjust it while looking at your phone to see what it actually views. In the case of what happened the other day, I messed around with the camera. I knocked it on the rear view camera, and the next section was completely pure white. I don't know if that was due to the sun or me messing around with it or something like that. So I've readjusted it, hopefully, but again, I'll try and show you that in the actual edit view. Now, since I've bought it, I've had a couple of problems. As some people have said, though, I think that's due to the SD cards. I've got a SanDisk Ultra, and apparently SanDisk Ultras are not suitable for dashcam usage. But I do have a Samsung, but again, I need to find out whether it was which SD card it was using. Just people walking past with a dog. Not clear. Now, the first problem I had with it when I set up the camera, the rear view camera had some sort of colour screen, as in there was different blocks of colours. It was like some sort of test screen, but the audio worked fine. Never seen it since. Another few times, the file's corrupted, as in it's not recorded anything. Now, the first time that happened, it was a 15-minute drive from Metro Station to Costco. I wanted to film those. That's almost 15 minutes just of footage. Dogs versus dogs. And the second time, I lost about 2.5 hours worth of footage. I don't know what happened. The camera just didn't start recording. Now, I've turned up the volume on the dash cam. Hopefully that will improve things. Whether it had an audio warning, I've yet to hear it. So hopefully, with increased volume, I will notice things like that. So, in the case with the cons, I'll start off the cons. The cost, it is quite expensive at 350 quid. You can get the Aoki that does a similar thing at for £100. Right, I'm just restarting again. There's a Corsa just trying to go along the Castleton blocked off roads, as in the ones that sort of closed due to subsidence. I don't know what the hell's going on. Alright, so hopefully I'll continue while they're doing that. So I think, yeah, they're reversing it now. Oh, the joys of parking up and doing this stuff in random places, isn't it great? That wheel spin was from them. The joys of stupidity. There's a sign saying don't enter it. Anyway, sorry to interrupt this with real life. So yeah, I was going to say, with the app does have unclear instructions. You do often look at it and think, what does that actually mean? It's like you can also interlace a specific word in like the top left-hand corner, so I can put in my username. But it just takes up so much screen. It looks ungainly. It's kind of weird, so I don't put it on. The updates I put again as a con for those because it's not very well. They're not very well done. It's not very well explained that you have to download it onto your phone in order to do it. You'd assume, as a coach, just going into the turning point now, you'd assume it is similar to, well, you just use the actual GPS connection, but you don't. Please don't hit me with your coach. And it's clear. Isn't it fun round here? Yeah, I've also put the updates. It's not very clear how well it is to update. You'd assume that you can connect it straight up to the connection via the GPS and such like that, but no, you've got to download it onto your phone and put it into the SD card. It's not very well set up. And the other thing is it has to restart for every change, but also, in the case of the restart, sometimes it will delete all of your files. And they've won enough again. Yeah, it doesn't. Every time that you do certain changes, it sometimes may delete the previous files. In the case of like changing the time and such like that, quite annoying. But if you know what you're doing, you're prepared for it. Yes, you can work around with it, but it's a bit annoying that you have to work around with it. Other things I've seen is the Blackvue program itself. Strange. The exact Blackvue program itself, it doesn't work that well. If you edit the file name on the Blackvue program itself, it doesn't recognise it as Blackvue, so you can't get the GPS location on your computer unless as long as you don't change the file name. It's kind of weird. So I actually have to do quite a lot of research in order to find out where I was at one stage in order to get the street names and locations. So yeah, it is quite annoying that you have to edit the bit. If you edit the file name, which I tend to do, you have to leave the file name as it is in order to sign out the GPS location. It's really annoying. There may be a way to find out where the GPS location is, but I haven't been able to figure it out. Another thing is about the clip size. They all put them as 1 minute. Now, if you're using it for insurance claims or anything like that, 1 minute length isn't too bad. But when you're editing videos for compilations, the 1 minute footage is really annoying because you have multiple files to put together. There's one of the things that I've liked about the ePrance. The ePrance is a 3-minute clip. So yeah, that's what in terms of cons. I have really enjoyed the camera. Has had a few moments, but I'd have the same problems even if I had another camera, I had a budget camera or anything like that. I did say that, talking about with 4K cameras, I may think about it, but as I said, I don't have a 4K monitor or screen, so there's no real point. Well, for me at this moment in time, plus I prefer the 60 FPS. I've heard mention that one of the next bases, I forget, was it 612, can do 4K footage. It does 4K footage, but I can't find whether it does 30 frames per second or 60. I've seen somebody set it up that way, and it does 60 frames, but the website doesn't advertise that. Plus, also in the case of the Blackvue, it uses a sticky mount to stay onto the screen, onto the screen. Some people prefer suction pads, some people don't. I prefer it just hidden up. You set it up going, and then it's gone, and that's it. You don't touch it again. Just take the SD card out. So yeah, you tend to get a little bit more. Tend to get a bit better lenses on the suction pads. Sorry, reading this on. You tend to get better cameras and lenses on the suction pads, but that's because they tend to be larger. Whereas the hidden ones, which I've got, they tend to be quite a bit smaller, so they don't mess around with the focal length. Yeah, for a dead end, this is very busy. Another thing that I've noticed as well, the camera, is that it does take a long amount of time to start up, as I will quickly show. Turn my radio off. It does take quite a long time to set up, to know when to set recording, but it does connect up to GPS fairly well. It does lose it sometimes, but for the most part it connects up very easily. The old ePrance took quite a while for it to set up, and as you can tell, I'm waiting just for it to turn on. I do have a hardwire kit from Blackvue, but there is a slight problem with the design.
For your safe driving.
And now it's recording as a normal file. And so it does take quite a while to set up. Now, if I had a hardwire kit in, it would be straight away. It would just essentially say parking mode off, which I do want that to set up. As I was saying with the case of the Peugeot, there's no immediately metal parts on around the fuse board in order to connect it up to ground it to the gate. So I'm waiting for help from my brother-in-law to set that up. But I do use a power bank when parked up, which was it 25,000 25,000 milliamps per hour power bank, I believe, off the top of my head anyway, and it runs for about 16 hours. Now it's obviously not recording for 16 hours, but it will power the thing for that much time. So I find it quite useful. I'll just turn it off anyway now.
Powering down.
There you go. So yeah, it's quite a bit useful. As I say, I'm waiting to get that installed with the hardwired kit. Hopefully, it will improve the actual. Hopefully, it will also improve the reliability of the camera as well, because it will constantly be on. So it will just go switching from parking mode to normal mode. So yeah, in terms of the camera, I do actually like it. Is it worth that sort of money? I probably could have gone a lot cheaper for what I spent on it, but I wanted what I wanted. I wanted a 60 FPS camera at 1080p. I wanted a rear view camera at 1080p, because I've seen a lot of cheaper ones on Amazon that'll do 720p, or even less, they'll do 480p, which you might as well, it's called potato vision for a reason. It's just horrible. You can't see anything. You can barely make out the make of the car, let alone the reg plate. So at least with 1080p, you can see what's going on. Fair enough, it's only 30 FPS at the back, but it's for the rear camera. A lot of the time that will do. In the case of the front, that's where pretty much all the action is. That is the main focus of what's going on. So I will keep continuing using it. I will keep looking around at other things, but ultimately I think the 4K cameras are becoming more common. But like with a lot of technology, they are taking their time to get cheaper. I believe the DR900, I believe that's the 4K version of the Blackvue, that's £500. Random man's just come out there. It's £500 for the 4K version. I don't think it does 60 frames per second, so you're eventually going to be updating it soon anyway, in order to have it 60 FPS. So yeah, I may eventually do it, but not at this moment in time. If I've missed anything, hopefully I haven't, except for I've written down stuff, I will try and put it down to the comments below. But yeah, if any questions about it, I'll see what I can do. So until next time, take care.